if statement. In this lesson, how conditionally execute only a part of your script, how to use if, else and else if statements, when if statement should be used. In a moment, we will look into the conditional statement that will allow to execute only part of your script. Execution will depend on the value of a variable. Before we will start playing with the if statement, I would like to tell a little bit words about the WMI and getWMI object command. That command will allow to get us some information regarding the disk. When you call getWMI object command, passing the class name Win32 logical disk, then all instances of local logical disks will be returned. The amount of returned objects depends on the computer where the command is started, because each computer has some specific number of disks, specific types of disks, sizes of disks, and other parameters. Command getWMI objects allows you to pass additional parameter called filter, where you can put some information which drive should be reported. Here, for example, we ask only for information regarding the C drive. As you see, now only one object has been returned, and this is object describing the C drive. Please note the notation. Syntax of WMI queries requires from us to put the expression using the equality sign and next the constant value C colon should be enclosed in single quote. That's why the filter expression here in this example is enclosed in double quotes, and internally in those double quotes we are using expression device ID equals single quote C colon single quote. That's specific to the language called WQL. Script containing the command as it is here is not the best practice. Ideally, that should be a parameter that's initiated with the C colon value, and next that parameter should be used internally by the other commands that should report about that drive. And that's what we are doing in the next command. Next command again uses the filter parameter, but that time the filter expression is built from the constant part, like device ID equals, but the drive letter that can change from time to time is now a variable. We are using here the double quotes, and you know already that when the text contains the name of a variable and we use double quotes, then during the execution the variable name is replaced with the variable value. So generally we will have exactly the same statement as was started previously. As you see, the result is the same. In the object describing logical disk, there is a lot of properties that we can use. To see all of them, just send the output of the command to the get member. You can find here, for example, the size property, telling about the size of the disk, and the free space, telling how much free space is still available on the disk. If you would be interested in the space that is currently used on the disk, you just need to take the size property and extract from that value the free space property. That way, you will know the three main parameters of a disk: free space, used space, and total size. So let's go to the last statement in the script. Now, from the object returned by getWMI object, we are just selecting a couple of interesting for us properties. Here, that's size, free space, and used space. All the values are calculated in bytes. Let's suppose that you need to develop a script that will have two parameters. One of them will be the letter of the disk that should be reported, but the other parameter will tell what should be returned. We will allow three values here. If the variable value to return will be equal used, that means that the information about used disk space should be returned. If the value is equal free space, then we should report how much space on the disk is still free. When the value of the variable is total space, then the expected result is just the total size of the disk. That's why we decide to use the if statement that, depending on the value passed in the variable value to return, will execute a selected part of our script. So, if in the variable we have a text free space, then from the object returned by getWMI object command, we will take only free space property and return it to user. If that condition would be not true, we still don't know what should be returned. So we need to ask additional question, and for that else if will be responsible. So here we are asking whether the value to return value is total space. If yes, then from the object we will return the property size. And well, if the value to return was not equal free space and was not equal total space, we decide to execute the last statement of the script. Please note that the last part will be executed not only for the value to return equal used. It will be executed whenever in the variable there will be text different than free space and different than total space, because here we have the statement else. So under any other condition, execute this part of that script. So now you see that the syntax of the if statement is generally just the if word, and after that we are evaluating an expression where the true or false should be computed. In case when the expression evaluated to true, then we try to execute the part that follows the if statement. However, if the calculated here value was not true, then we will skip this block and we will go to the next instruction. The next instruction can be else if, else, and in case when no such instruction exists here, just the next part of your script. The conditional expression enclosed after the if or else if statement determines which part of the script should be executed. Your if, else if, and else statement can contain one if at very beginning, more else if statements depending on the condition that you need to check, and at the end one else statement. The last else statement will be executed when any previous condition wasn't true. Only the if statement is obligatory, the other are optional. So let's now try to execute that script. We asked for the used space, and indeed the returned value is used space on the disk. If you would be interested in how much space on the disk is still free, then change the value of the value to return variable. After changing that value, just run the script again, and the result returned should tell a little bit about the free space on the disk. If you would like to see the entire disk size, change the value of the parameter to total size and run the script again. Now the value returned should be the total size of the disk. If is a great statement that could be used whenever you need to execute a part of your script depending on the values passed as parameters. Our example is really quite simple. And to be honest, those variables that we set at the very beginning of our script are not pure parameters. Those are just local variables. But the logic and idea of the if statement remains the same. Use if whenever your script should behave differently depending on the conditions that are met on the system. Those conditions may be determined by the state of machine where the script is working, but also by the settings that are somehow passed to your script. It's always better to have one script with parameters that knows how to behave in different conditions than a couple of scripts that can service only one simple situation. This will make maintenance of your script much easier, because you will need to take care only about one script that can work in multiple environments, on multiple servers, and in multiple conditions. If you would decide to have a couple of dedicated scripts per environment, per server, per condition, then you will finish with a lot of scripts that will need to be maintained somehow, probably by you, wasting your valuable time. You can, for example, test presence of a file and execute different parts of code depending on its presence or absence. Test how much memory you have on the system and behave differently when you have a lot of free memory and differently if low memory condition is met. Test whether the user running the script is a local administrator or not and process the situation depending on that. Those are only a couple of situations where if can be very useful in the administration of a system.